we can still go get whatever we want. I think we have the talent in this locker room that we can make it happen.
The heading of stuff he didn't see coming, Mahomes is now 3-5 in his last 8 starts, including the most recent Super Bowl. He's been blitzed at the lowest rate in the NFL this season, but you can still see he's facing a lot of pressure. In Week 7, he posted the lowest total QBR of his career, lower by almost 31 points than his previous low. Here's what Patrick had to say about it yesterday.
I said stuff to them saying that I got to be better, but at the same time, they have that mindset. They're gonna try to build me up. So I mean, it's a thing where you're not gonna play your best game every single game, and that's when you really have to rely on those other guys to kind of step up and make plays for you.
Which, I mean, that's what you expect him to say. He's taking responsibility. But I'm wondering, how much responsibility do you think he bears for the current Chiefs mess?
What, you on percentage?
I do.
Oh, okay. I'll give you a 35%.
All right.
Look, he's the quarterback. We all know that the quarterback, they control everything. But at the end of the day, you look at the interceptions. Some of those interceptions, you got to take them with a grain of salt because they were through the receiver's hands, which would have been completions, and they drop the ball, and then the other team picks it off. So anytime, Bill Belichick always said, yeah, why don't we just volleyball the ball up in the air and see what happens? That's never a good thing. So when I look at this, the statistics on his passer rating and interceptions, all those could have been affected by drop passes too. So when you throw the football, on the other end of that, somebody has to receive it. And again, I like that he's taking accountability, saying that he has to play better, starts with him. But it's not all about him. It is a team sport.
Sacho, how do they pull out of this?
It takes going back to the fundamentals, going back to the basics. It's as simple as that. No one wants to hear about basics and fundamentals. Everybody wants the flashy. Everybody wants the no-look passes. All those are great. But before you get to the no-look passes, you have to get to the fundamentals. That's what I care about, right? I remember these drills that you do, right? Little drills, right? Turnover drills. Drills about protecting the ball, wet ball drills. All these things matter. And Kansas City has had so much success for such a long time. Sometimes you overlook the little things. I haven't been in that locker room. I get it. But I've been in locker rooms where we went to national championships one year in college. And the next year we forgot about the little things. So you'd have a drop punt in practice. You say, oh, next play. You'd have a drop pass in practice. You say, oh, next play. And sometimes those little things come back to haunt you. And so it's easy. For me, all this is fixable. Just go back and focus on those little things that you did when you were early in the seasons before, and you'll be fine.
RC, what do you see when you watch the Chiefs right now?
Oh, the Chiefs stink. Absolutely. The Chiefs are not a good football team. But it's a very fixable thing offensively. I don't know how fixable it is defensively. Offensively, you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who I think is starting to understand that he has to change some things about himself. When you listen to Acho say, go back to the basics, right? Go back to the fundamentals. He ain't never did the fundamentals. Those are all the things we always loved about him. We loved the fact that he was on prime time in his first year starting, and he threw a football with his left hand in Denver. We loved the fact that he threw no-look passes. We applauded him when he rolled to his right, threw back across his body to Tyreek Hill against the Baltimore Ravens, and Tyreek Hill scores, and they win the game late. These are all the things we've loved about Patrick Mahomes. What he's going to have to understand is this team isn't good enough to support him. This defense isn't good enough to support him. They can't stop anything. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the kneel down. They can't stop nothing. And so since they can't stop anything, you can't take these chances anymore. When the check down is available, Patrick Mahomes, you have to take the check down. When you have the early throw on your first read, you have to take it, and you can't get out of the pocket and try to scramble and hit a play down the field. This is for Patrick Mahomes to fix because he is the best player, because he is the player that's most capable. I don't think that he's as much responsible for them losing as he has to be responsible for them turning this thing around and winning. He has to be a different Patrick Mahomes, a Patrick Mahomes he has never been, and Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy they have to call football games a different way because they're getting yards and they're scoring in other games, but the team around him is just not good enough to help him when he turns the football over or when things aren't going well offensively.
Well, I will say it's hard to imagine anything more getting back to the basics than figuring out how to stop the kneel down. We have a bunch of big games in college football this weekend involving some conference rivals. In Jacksonville, top-ranked Georgia meets Florida in their annual rivalry game. Bulldogs can clinch a spot in the SEC title game with a win against Florida and a Kentucky loss at Mississippi State. In Columbus, number 5 Ohio State hosts 20th-ranked Penn State. Ohio State has won 25 straight against conference opponents, which is the longest active streak in the FBS.
To the guys on the outside.
Dak has 16 touchdown passes in Dallas' first 6 games, but on the last one he threw, he strained a calf muscle. And they were off last week, but he's been limited in practice this week, and they still don't know for sure if he's going to play in Sunday's game. Here is what Dak himself had to say about it after practice yesterday.
I don't know if it's just my decision. Obviously, you guys know me, been around and watch me go. I tell you right now, I'd go play today if I could. So knowing that this is a long journey and a long season, I don't necessarily know if this is fully my decision. What I went through was last year a pretty traumatic injury to the leg. And so, I honestly think this calf had something to do with that. So as much as I'm bearing it mentally and the way that I come back and the way that I play the game, I think I still have to be very cautious and conscious of working on it.
This has been a big topic on the show all week. And look, we were just talking about a similar thing with Baker Mayfield and the Browns. So, Nico, when you look at this situation, what goes into what are the considerations here in deciding whether to play Dak?
Well, Dak said it, cautious. You got to be cautious about this situation because the calf is a funny, weird thing. Sometimes it can linger. Sometimes you can have another injury on top of that. We've seen that in the past. So you really have to take care of it. And if Dak does play, then I'm not really worried about it. I think that the team will put him in the best position because he is their future. And if they want to go into the playoffs deep, they're going to have Dak. So if he doesn't play, I think they're doing the right decision and making sure it's all the way healed to where you don't have a setback and then you miss more time. So if he plays, I'm not worried about it. If he doesn't play, I think they're being cautious.
RC, if he's in this game, are you going to be worried about him?
Say it again, Dan.
I say if he is in this game, are you going to be worried about him injuring his calf again?
Yeah, well, I think so. And, you know, they're going to make the best decision that they could possibly make. But you worry about him because of how much he matters to the Dallas Cowboys. Because I watched him limp off of the field against the New England Patriots, and it didn't look good. Dak Prescott didn't look to me like a dude who was going to be healthy very soon. And Rob said it. You know, sometimes the calf muscle or the calf injuries could linger, and you don't want this to be something that's affecting Dak Prescott late in the season. And his injury history, or recent injury history, has to matter to you. You have to think about the ankle, and obviously the shoulder isn't related, but that was another injury, and now you get the calf. Protecting Dak Prescott and having him for the stretch run of this football season should be the Dallas Cowboys' #1 priority. And I think if this one game allows him to get healthy enough to where you don't really have to worry about this calf throughout the rest of the season, then you have to make the smart decision. But sometimes it's about winning football games, and if your quarterback or your guy says, I can go, I can protect myself, I can play, a lot of times you want to get him out there. So they're going to have to be smart, have to be cautious, but if Dak is out there, I'm absolutely going to worry.
You know, when he did injure that ankle last year, they struggled on offense. So I'm wondering if he did, it's hypothetical, we don't know what they're going to do. RC, if he has to miss this game, are this year's Cowboys in better shape to win games without him than last year's were?
You know what? They seem better on defense, but if you really look at it, they're still giving up the yardage. Just about turning the football over. And so I don't believe that they're better situated because I think last year you had a better backup in Andy Dalton. This isn't a team that's prepared to win without Dak Prescott. This isn't a playoff team without Dak Prescott. It's a team that's going to struggle moving the football the same way we saw last year. They'll be able to run it a little bit better, but think about the change in defensive philosophy when playing this team when Dak Prescott isn't the quarterback. I'm going to stack the box. There will be no Tony Pollard. There will be no Ezekiel Elliott. I'm going to make you win it on the outside. And right now, they don't have the backup quarterbacks to do that. And so is it to be smart and maybe not necessarily forfeit this game, but try to win this game without Dak Prescott? Or do you want to even think about having to win 6 or 7 or 8 games later in the season without him? Because I believe that's impossible.
All right, it is time now for our DraftKings poll question of the day, and it is about Dak Prescott. Will Dak Prescott throw for 300 or more yards in Minnesota on Sunday night? Yes or no? They are your choices. DraftKings is the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, and this Sunday only, new players can play free for over $1 million in total prizes when you make your first deposit. Download the DraftKings app and sign up with the code GETUP. Time now to go on the clock. RC, we're going to start with you. Biggest upset of the week, what will it be?
Listen, you just brought me right to it, Dan. I think the Minnesota Vikings win this game. The Minnesota Vikings